Welcome everyone to the reverse pitch, hearing from the investors. With our guest today, Jon Canarick, Managing Partner from North Castle Partners in the United States. I'm Nancy Davis, Chief Creative Officer and Executive Director of both the Global Wellness Summit and Global Wellness Institute, and I'll be your host for today's call. The idea of a reverse pitch was born at the 2020 Global Wellness Summit, which was one of the first global hybrid events held both in person at the Breakers Palm Beach and virtually all over the world. There were a number of investors involved in the summit, as there always are, and since COVID protocols prevented the usual socializing, which often results in business, we thought we would come up with a creative way to get some business done. We asked all of the investors present and joining virtually to take exactly 2 minutes each to explain what they invest in and why they were looking for investments in wellness companies. Some were interested in seed stage, some late stage, but all were very interested in opening their doors to great new ideas. It worked. We have heard from several investors and delegates about the deals that were made as a result of the reverse pitch idea. And so we thought we would continue this throughout the year, leading up to another reverse pitch on stage in Tel Aviv this November at the summit. Before introducing Jon, it's my pleasure to introduce Susie Ellis, Chair and CEO of both the Global Wellness Summit and Global Wellness Institute, and herself a foremost investor in wellness, to offer a word of welcome.
Thank you, Nancy, and I'm very excited about this particular reverse pitch. And first of all, kudos to Nancy for having created the reverse pitch idea that has so much legs now. And I'm excited about today. But I just wanted to say one thing about North Castle Partners and why we are so fortunate to hear from them, because they have been around for decades in this space, and that is a long time in this space. Health and sustainability and activeness. I mean, not everyone. I mean, there's a lot of people paying attention to this space now, but 2 decades ago there were not. So therefore, the wisdom that they have is going to be, I know, beyond others. So I'm very much looking forward to hearing what they have to share. So thank you for arranging this, Nancy, and Jon. Thank you for doing this.
Thanks, Susie. On this call, there are always other members of our wonderful team. So I just want to give a shout out to Beatrice Hochegger, who has you all muted, and Michelle Gamble, and there are likely others. A quick note about Zoom, everybody's familiar with it. Beatrice is going to keep you muted. We're going to keep the background noise to, we're going to eliminate it. You can view the call in gallery or speaker view and make that choice the top right of your window. Use the chat function as you already are. Let us know where you're from, the name of your company. Post a question if you have it. We'll try to get to some of those. This event is being recorded. You will receive a link and a follow-up email to the recording as well as the chat. We share the chat so that you can stay connected with each other and reach out to each other. Thanks so much for your cooperation. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Jon Canarick, Managing Partner of North Castle Partners. I met Jon through Alexia Brew, co-founder and former CEO of Well and Good, now an advisor to Well and Good post-acquisition. I think Alexia is on the call. She herself does angel and seed investing now, so she may be a future guest on a reverse pitch. Hello, Alexia, and thanks. Jon Canarick is a fitness enthusiast with a keen eye on innovation. He has 19 years, as Susie mentioned, this is an incredible legacy and an incredible stretch of success of consumer private equity investment experience. And since he joined North Castle in 2001, he's actively managed their investments across a wide variety of healthy, active, and sustainable living sectors. He has played a crucial role in the development of North Castle and many of its companies. He currently sits on the board of directors of Five Iron Golf, Echelon Fit, CR Fitness, Encore Vet Group, The Escape Game, Barry's, Brooklyn Boulders, and SLT. Previously, he served on the board of directors of Kettlebell Kitchen, Curves, Jenny Craig, Palladio, Mineral Fusion, Glow Professional, Flat Out, International Fitness, Enzymatic Therapy, Performance, Bicycle, and on and on. He was involved in the firm's investment in Grand Expeditions as well. He's been very busy, but not too busy to have two children whom he raises in New York, and no doubt is instilling in them the benefits and fun of a healthy lifestyle. Jon's here today because he believes in the power of innovation and has fueled that through his leadership. While North Castle's sweet spot is fitness, and we're going to be talking a lot about that today, they're also deeply involved in other wellness lifestyle sectors, including food and beauty. After Jon tells us a bit about North Castle, he will introduce us to Lou Lentine, CEO and founder of Echelon Fitness and chairman of Viatech Consumer Products Group, and JJ Gant, president and chief financial officer of Barry's, the original global high-intensity interval training fitness concept. Both, as you may have guessed, are North Castle investments. Here now, Jon Canarick.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, Nancy and Susie. It was such a warm and much appreciated introduction. As was mentioned, North Castle has been investing in the wellness industry since the late 90s when we were founded. We were founded with the purpose of being a focused investor, and the focus that was selected by our founding partnership, Baird, was at the time called Healthy and Active, Healthy Living and Aging. Today we call it wellness because that's the term, as Susie kind of mentioned before, that has evolved over the years and is now something we all talk about. But at the time, it was an industry that didn't quite have a clear definition. Personally, as was mentioned, I do a lot of my investing and time in the fitness industry, while others of my colleagues focus more on food and beverage and vitamins, minerals, and supplements and areas like that. So excited to tell you a little bit more about us and introduce my colleagues. I don't know if we're going to throw on the slides right now just to do the quick North Castle overview.
Sure. Yep. Beatrice will run those. And
Great.
just cue her when you're ready to move forward.
Yep, perfect. To just move right on to the second slide, I'll do this real fast so we can have time for discussion. I already mentioned our focused and experience. We are a firm that believes very strongly in the power of partnership with founders, entrepreneurs, CEOs, et cetera. And we are a firm that believes in an unwavering commitment to values, and that's how we approach our relationships. The focus allows us to have strong resources and capabilities within our areas. If we go to the next slide, we'll just do a quick look at the portfolio companies, investments we've made over time. This is how we look at the wellness world. There's many different definitions of it. We are not healthcare investors. There's an important distinction for us. We really are consumer brand investors. As you see here, everything on here is in that vein. You may not have heard of all of these brands. Some of them are more global in nature. I know we're all from all over the world on this call, which is tremendously exciting. But within the area of fitness, where I spend a lot of my time here in the upper left, today with investments in Barry's, which we'll hear from, and Echelon, as well as a number of other companies. We branched out into more experiential concepts as well, with something called the Escape Game and 5-iron golf, which is an indoor golf concept. Very exciting business. People can play, around the golf in 60 or 90 minutes instead of 5 hours, as time is compressed in today's environment. Of course, changed from the pandemic, but does seem to be rapidly changing back to the kind of hectic world that we all lived in beforehand. And as I mentioned before, colleagues of mine have deep experience in other sectors like VMS and sports nutrition, healthy food and beverage, weight management, et cetera, and a bit in beauty and personal care as well. So next slide, and then we'll wrap up my introduction. We are a mission-driven company. Here's our values on the bottom left. Partnership is what I talked about before as being just a very clear part. So we blow that out on the right, and what it means for us to partner with CEOs and entrepreneurs. And it's all about a clear vision and a blueprint for value creation delivered through trust, if I had to summarize it really fast. And that trust is what enables the partnership enables North Castle to bring resources to bear that our partners want, as opposed to are suspicious of. That's sometimes a tension between investors and managers, and we seek to break that tension through a real commitment to trust, and hopefully anybody who knows us has experienced that or has heard that about us. The last slide is just our approach to the value creation process. We think about adding value across a number of different dimensions, and every company, every investment we make has different needs, and we don't seek to bring all of these things to all companies. Many companies, like Barry's as an example, is better at brand development than North Castle, and it's not something we would ever seek to help on. Lou and Echelon are phenomenal product innovation team who know how to manage a supply chain better than anybody I've ever come across. And we don't seek to add value there. We seek to add value in brand development and sales and distribution and other areas developing human capital. So every company has different needs, and we try to focus with our entrepreneurs on those right needs. So with that, I've asked two of my colleagues to come onto this call as we think about the reverse pitch. I'll quickly introduce JJ, or Jonathan Gant, as he may be listed on the Zoom. JJ joined Barry's 3 or so years ago now, and he was previously president and CFO at a hotel group, and previous to that worked in the private equity and investment industry. And JJ brings a tremendous talent to Barry's and a passion for the product and the service that he brought in as a customer. Quickly rose from CFO to the president role, where JJ plays a tremendous role kind of managing Barry's globally, and a very, very big portion of our team. I'll let JJ spend a minute on Barry's and what we're all about, and JJ's slides will focus on, from a pitch perspective, what it is that Barry's tells investors when we're seeking capital, which unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we had to do very recently to help get through this terribly difficult time for, obviously, an indoor service company that is anything but socially distanced. So with that, JJ, please say hello.
Thanks, John, and thank you to Nancy and Susie for having us. Looking forward to this conversation. So, as John mentioned, I joined Barry's in 2018 as CFO, and then was promoted to president. I began my Barry's journey as a diehard client in New York City. Fell in love with the brand, fell in love with the workout and community, and decided to join the company in 2018. It's been an incredible journey. Clearly, 2020 was a challenging period for Barry's. If you're unfamiliar with Barry's, we have approximately 80 global studios. We're in markets ranging from New York, Chicago, LA in the United States, to Sydney, Singapore, Paris, Milan, London. We just opened in Qatar. We are in Dubai. So we are a global brand. We like to call ourselves the best workout in the world. We are the original high-intensity interval workout, founded in 1998 in West Hollywood. From those humble roots, we've grown to the 80 global studios. We really focus on, providing the best workout, but we are an experience. If you've had the opportunity to work out at Barry's, we are known for our red rooms, the red lighting, the loud music. Our founder, Barry J., called it a workout in a nightclub. And that concept has resonated, but we also really focus on building inclusive communities around the world. And that's what drew me to the brand, was that I became, love the workout, but you become a part of the community. And so our focus continues to be to build studios globally. 2020 was a challenging year where we pivoted to the digital space, and we launched very quickly a Zoom-based workout in a matter of weeks. And since then, we've invested in building our digital future, which we plan on launching later this year. It's been incredible to partner with Jon at North Castle. They've been fantastic partners, especially in 2020, helping us navigate, as many of you and many of your companies may have faced. It was truly an existential crisis for Barry's. When your global studios are shut down, and at one point all of our studios went dark and your cash flows go to zero, it truly is an existential crisis. And North Castle was a fantastic partner, and not only helping us navigate the internal decisions of what to do with your employees and what to cut back on, but then also accessing the capital markets to make sure we had the capital to survive the crisis. And so Jon asked me to join today and just share a little bit about, if we were going to present, which we have had recently, to an investor, what 3 slides would we present? And so Beatrice, if you want to share the slides. You know, from my perspective, when you're sitting in front of an investor, and as John mentioned, I did, you know, spend some time in the private equity space investing before going on the portfolio company side. To me, I like to use the metaphor of the horse race. Many of you are probably familiar with this, right? Do you invest behind the horse, the jockey, or, you know, and then the race? And to me, there's no right answer to that. You may have an opinion of whether or not you invest behind the horse or the jockey, but I think those are the 3 key components that need to be presented to an investor. So what you see on the first slide, I call this the horse, right? So this is how we create value at Barry's. And these are the fundamentals of the business model, right? And so from an investor's perspective, they want to understand, does your business model work? Does it create value? So what you see on this slide, and we presented this to investors, is simply how we create value. These are the studio economics of an individual studio. And here you can see the average unit volume, the 4-wall EBITDA margin, the cash on cash returns. And the focus here is to say, we know how to create value on a studio by studio basis, and we can replicate this in the future. On the second slide, you know, it's important to focus on who the jockey is, right? And so really focus, do you have the team in place to execute the strategy? And if you don't have the team in place, how do you plan on recruiting the right talent to execute the strategy? So the second slide I would present would be the jockey. You know, what team have you assembled, or what team do you plan to assemble to execute the strategy? And then finally, the third is, what's the horse race, right? How do you plan on creating value in the future? And this is an incredibly important slide, because an investor is not only investing in who you are today, they're investing on who you will be in 2 to 3 years when they plan on exiting. And so this slide clearly creates the avenues for value creation for Barry's over the next 2 or 3 years. And you can see there's different pillars of that value creation. And it's important to be able to provide detail on your ability to execute each component of your value creation plan. So if I had to choose just 3 slides to present to an investor, again, it's the horse, the jockey, and the race. I think all are equally important. And these are the slides that we used most recently to do a couple of successful capital raises. So with that, I'll pass it back to John.
JJ, I'm just going to step in for one sec just to say thank you so much. That is exactly, you know, these reverse pitch calls were designed to not only have the investor tell us what they're interested in and expose that to our audience, but also to demonstrate how you do it, how you do pitch, what is important to pitch, how do you represent a company. So I think you just did that beautifully. You don't adjust your set. The first slide was redacted, so there were not numbers there. But you know, we'll try to get into some numbers later with John. But I just want to say that I really appreciate, this is what we really want to be able to share with people, is kind of both sides of the table. So back to you, John.
Yeah. So, and my other colleague that's here, Lou Lenteni, thank you for being here. Lou has been an entrepreneur since high school, and came out of college and immediately started originally with a partner, and then shortly thereafter on his own in the product development and sourcing and distribution business. And when I met Lou in 2018, I was just blown away by the product that he had developed in the Echelon spin bike, which was a cost engineered, an incredibly high quality piece of hardware to compete in the connected cardio market, starting with spin. But Lou had a vision then to be a multi-product company, a multi-category company, and a vision that I really got excited about, which was to be a multi-channel company, not pure D2C. And everyone loves D2C. People think D2C is the ultimate, but to build a successful, profitable D2C business, it takes a long time and a lot of capital. There are still many stores that we all shop at, and those are still exciting avenues to have your product seen. And so I was incredibly excited. And so Lou's going to tell us just a little bit about Echelon, and you'll see very quickly the mass market opportunity, and it's a fun contradiction to Barry's, which is not a mass market opportunity at all. It's a very premium, big opportunity, but premium in both price point and the type of workout is simply not for everybody. Echelon is seeking to really be available to a wide audience and workouts that really are for the biggest part of the consumer triangle. So with that, hello to Lou. So Lou, come off mute there and
I'm controlling my mute. Okay, it's fun. Didn't know I was controlling myself. Great, thank you, John. I appreciate that. And Nancy and Susie, thanks as well for this opportunity. Yes, as John said, we met in 2018. We were working with JP Morgan Chase, and I asked JP Morgan Chase for a few names of some private equity groups that I could talk to about this product we were developing, Echelon, and this brand. They gave me 4 or 5 different names, and I reached out myself and started contacting different private equity groups. And I do remember the phone call I had with John and a few of his colleagues. And you know, as we talked for a few minutes, they said, "Can you send me one of your bikes?" And you know, I immediately sent it to him, and within a week, he was already on the bike, trying it and testing it and giving me feedback on it. So it was pretty exciting. They flew down. We had some great meetings. And you know, we worked together as we were working a deal together for a few months. And as I told John, I was always impressed with him. He came to a trade show with us, and he was the hardest worker on the floor, bringing different of his contacts. He's got so many contacts in the industry onto the floor and showing our product. And from that point, I saw this guy as a worker. And he continues to be. We have conversations and all hours of the night, sometimes in the, you know, early mornings, talking about you know, our excitement that's going on, and also challenges, because you know, every day you know, there could be different things we have to deal with, and John's been there on all aspects and all levels, so we're excited to work with him, and his team's incredible. But yeah, I'll jump into my slides a little bit about Echelon. As you said, you know, I've been doing product development and brand development on companies for over many years, and Echelon's an exciting opportunity to be involved with. Obviously, I'm excited to be the founder of the company and growing this business as we have. You know, we took in, as I mentioned, Northcaster started working with us in 2018 and 19. They made their investment in last year, 2020. We also had Goldman Sachs. I see Steven Justman on the phone here, and they've been a great partner as well. So who are we? I mean, we are, you know, when you look at our company, we're not just a fitness company creating great products, but we're creating connected hardware. And that's truly connected hardware, where you're connected to not only the bike through the internet, but you're connected to all these different individuals in the class who work out with you, and you're connected to our trainers, and our trainers know what you're doing. They know your speed, they know your resistance, they know your heart rate, and they really know what's going on as you're working out with them, as they push you and help you reach your goals. We're an entertainment company with big, you know, creating great entertainment, not only fitness classes, but we're entertaining our members. We have a whole team of in-house US-based app developers developing the latest app, constantly improving it. It's never complete, it's never done, and it's never the final version, because we're constantly making it better, listening to our members. We have great retail distribution that's globally to all the major retailers, from Walmart to Target to Argos. And of course, we're a membership community too. Our members are everything. They make the difference. We listen to them, we love them. They come and visit us in our studios. They make special trips from all over the world to come see us and work out with our members or with our instructors. Next slide. It's talked about a little bit about our app. It's a smart connected app that connects with our platform, and we have a great leaderboard. We have multiple leaderboards, 5 different leaderboards. We can really grow. We connect to 15 different filming studios, where we're filming over 1,500 classes a month. So it's a great feat for our team to create. You know, we're filming live classes at the same time in multiple studios throughout the day. Next slide, please. We're doing our equipment ranges from our bike, which we have an entry level at $500, all the way to over $3,000 that's in the commercial aspect that we just launched. So we have different bikes for different price points. We would love to have be able to have a connected platform that everyone can afford. In all levels. We also have our rower, which we do also with and without a screen. We have our treadmill, which we'll be launching 3 more as well. And we have our Reflect mirror. In addition, you have our Fit Pass, which you can use, which is a non-connected off modality program with yoga and HIIT classes and other types of workouts as well. Next slide, please. It's really important with our company is all about building brand relationships. We have great relationships with some big names here. You see Disney, Samsung, Corona, Mission, GNC, Warner Brothers. We're creating great relationships with these partners, and the partners work with us creating and entertaining our members. We also do great partnerships with celebrities. We'll have more announcing soon, but Joey Fatone just kicked off a 6-week program with his from Instinct, and we also do it with other celebrities as well. Next slide. Again, retail distribution, global distribution is important for us to be in the major retailers. We have partnerships with all these retailers, and we just won the Walmart 2021 Supplier of the Year for health and fitness. Our product was outselling everything in Walmart, we were told, except for the Sony PlayStation, the newest Sony PlayStation. So it's a big honor to be have partnerships with all these retailers. And content, I mean, as we mentioned, we create 1,500 classes a month, always working on great content, great fitness classes, over 50 classes a day we're filming. We have music licenses with all the major music groups, which John's teams helped us get, and working with partnerships with different musicians. You can see here Lady Gaga. We recently did a program with her, which is pretty exciting. So it's an exciting opportunity to work with the music industry and create great content with great music. And lastly, that's it.
Amazing.
Great.
Absolutely amazing. Now, is that the Corona that's beer?
Yes. We have Friday.
Can you talk a little bit about the fitness aspect of that, Lou?
Well, Friday happy hours, we would have a class, and afterwards Corona would give away swag, and, we all have to kick back and relax once in a while. So we had our Friday happy hours during COVID, when everyone couldn't get out and, couldn't get and have some fun outside the house. So we brought the fun inside the home with a little happy hour, and, we'd all toast each other after we worked out hard.
Both these fitness companies believe in the power of that balance, Nancy, because it is critical. Barry's has a relationship with one of the big tequila companies, and it's done a lot of promotion there. And so there is a place for work hard, play hard as part of your wellness lifestyle. And I think North Castle believes that, and both brands certainly do.
Yeah, just incredible and very clear, I think, both from the leadership of those brands and the success of those brands, that, the formula is working, and the mix of fun and fitness seems to be, paramount, which makes a ton of sense. Jon, can you talk a little bit about your strategy? Were these late stage investments for you, seed stage? You talk a little bit about North Castle's approach, and maybe you can use these guys as examples. I mean, do you have an end game always in mind? How do you do this?
Absolutely. So first, one thing we're not is a venture capital firm. There are tons of venture capital firms out there. North Castle is not one of them. Now, there's probably a lack of true consumer venture firms. And I think that's a source of frustration for a lot of entrepreneurs in the consumer wellness and other categories. But we are either or both a growth equity and small leverage buyout investor. And so we seek to put about 60% of our capital into control positions where oftentimes founders are taking both some money off the table, leaving a lot of money in the company as well, and in most cases continuing their leadership of that business, but seeking help in filling out the management team. In some cases, seeking either a different role, not the CEO role, or to actually just move on to a board role. So it really depends on what that founder or entrepreneur is looking for. 40% of our capital will go into growth equity, so significant minority stakes. So North Castle's not a participant in a $100 million Series B or Series C round. When we come into the growth equity phase, as we did with Echelon, we are a substantial minority investor. We're taking multiple seats on the board, but the board is just a way to measure it, I guess. It's a softer thing than that. It's a true partnership with the CEO. And so that's the measuring stick for us. Are they looking for a substantial partner? Are they open to that help and guidance? And if they're not, that's completely reasonable. Not everybody needs that. It's just not the right place for us and our capital. We're active, not passive. And so, we're looking to see at least 15 million of revenue in proof of concept on the growth equity side. Barry's was further in its development, but still very early on in the life cycle of Barry's and the growth that was ahead of it. And so in the case of Barry's, it was a control investment. There were 4 major shareholders, and 3 out of the 4 were looking for a more substantial exit. And so that was a tremendous opportunity for us to actually get in relatively early. Although not early in the life of Barry's. Barry's is, as JJ said, the original, and the original hit studio opened in 1998, and we invested in 2015. And so that's how we think of the world. And lastly, we're typically writing investment checks out of our fund at the lowest end of 15 million, the fund itself up to 60 million, and fairly easily aggregating capital from some of our investors to make investments well into the hundreds. So it just depends on the needs of the business.
Okay, that was my next question, is to talk numbers a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's good. No, it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect, because we talked about this before. It does help us, level set when we understand what numbers we're talking about.
Yeah.
So your average investment is between 15 up to in the hundreds, depending.
Yeah, that's right. And what's in the hundreds with partners, what you all know or read is the world is awash with investment capital. Doesn't mean that it's easy to find, but for us, our investors that make up our fund capital are large institutions, insurance funds, pension funds, those types of investors more and more like to make both fund investments through people like North Castle, but also direct investments. And so in Barry's is a good example. We have a very large international investor who invests in both funds and does direct investing. And so that's common. Private equity firms, large and small, can aggregate capital and make total investments that are sort of in excess of the normal limitations we would put on our fund, which tend to be 15 to 20% of the fund is kind of a hard cap, with more averages tend to be in the 8 to 12% of a fund. And North Castle's a $420 million investment vehicle.
And do you go in with an exit strategy in mind? Is this something that, do you invest in, are you building the companies for an exit?
For sure. There's definitely an end game in mind, and it doesn't mean that we know it definitively. In fact, it means we don't know it definitively. More often than not, the exit that happens is not the one you thought going in, but you are certainly building towards a goal, right? So to use examples, the goal of Barry's was, can we prove that there's a 500 studio global opportunity? At the time, we were largely New York, San Francisco, LA, top 3 markets in the US from an income and demographics perspective or from a density perspective. And how can we prove that opportunity was actually much larger than that? And in the case of a Barry's, where there's not an obvious strategic buyer, the exit thought there is it's most likely a larger private equity firm who's going to continue on that journey. Compare that to Echelon, very, very different. Goal from a total market opportunity is similar, proving that it's there, kind of more obvious with Echelon in terms of where the price points are, and that but that mass distribution strategy, partnering with both Walmart on the lower end of our price spectrum and Costco on the higher end of our price spectrum, and certain specialty sporting goods stores or home gym stores as well at the top, proving that we can, serve a wide audience, not necessarily the tippy top of the spear, where you'll see Peloton and SoulCycle fight it out. And there, I think we see a number of different avenues for potential exit, including large strategics, Echelon.
And integrating it into another company that maybe isn't necessarily.
Sorry, sometimes people come on and they mute and we mute them.
Okay, I wasn't sure if he was asking a question. So there's a large opportunity there, potential strategic, or Echelon actually potentially is an interesting public company candidate, because it needs a lot of capital to achieve its ultimate mission. There's a lot of capital that goes into both the development of the various products in the inventory, a lot of capital that goes into creating the right management team to take that company global, and into the technology. Lou mentioned before, it's never done. And oh boy, technology investing is never, ever done. It seems to get more expensive every year, even as you think you hit milestones and create, like, we've figured this thing out. We have a strong product now that can stream 10,000, live classes at the same time. Well, something else around the corner changes, or the norm, or the high quality video expectation by the consumer changes, or the way in which they want to consume it changes, right? So it's just never ending, which is exciting. That's what builds the moat.
Jon, do you go out looking for innovation and investment? Do they come to you? Is it a combination? And both JJ and Lou came to you through a recommendation, or you found them?
It's a little bit different. So first, the global answer to your question is so many different ways, right? So we are fortunate to be a focused investor, right? So I don't have to go out looking at everything under the sun. I can really focus my time on active lifestyle businesses. That allows me to go to a handful of trade shows a year. That allows me to interact with the right set of investment bankers, not 150 investment bankers, but 12 investment bankers, and there's obviously more than that, but the ones that we kind of talk to more often, whereas my colleague Allison may interact with a different, right, 12 or 50 or whatever investment bankers, and go to a different 8 or 10 trade shows a year, or other conferences, or whatever the case may be. We're fortunate to be introduced to people through our colleagues, through our portfolio companies. People call Lou and ask for advice in certain areas. People call JJ and his colleagues over at Barry's, and so we may get introductions from them. So there's a whole different way. And then Lou's told the story briefly, but I'll just elaborate on it because it's actually a pretty cool and unusual story. He does banking through Chase. Echelon is a Chattanooga, Tennessee-based company. They called their colleagues in the Atlanta office, which is their sort of larger business hub for the Southeast. They called their colleagues in the New York office, and given the size and the category, they called their colleagues and said, who's the right 5 firms that focus on fitness, and this is the right size match for them. And that's how Lou and I got connected. Now, that isn't a very unusual story where the chain went from Chattanooga to Atlanta to New York and to me. So very fortunate there. The Barry story was a little different. We did meet Barry's multiple years before they hired an investment bank for sale. But Barry's ultimately, when the 4 founders decided they wanted to do an event, they did hire a traditional investment bank and ran a process that we participated in. But because we knew the business, because we knew Joey, the CEO beforehand, I think that was very helpful to us prevailing in that process.
Jon, a couple of things have come, questions. I'm going to try to integrate them into this. You mentioned that you go to just a couple of trade shows, and I also just want to reiterate what Jon said at the beginning, which is his particular focus is in the fitness and lifestyle. There are other partners at North Castle focus on other things. So it's a broader swath of the industry as a company, but Jon is here to speak about this sort of specifically. The question is, what trade shows do you attend? And also, if you invest internationally, the companies that you've brought in that you mentioned, I know JJ's got a global platform, and I'm sure Echelon is going global, but talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So trade show wise, I mean, in fitness, it's narrow, right? There's IRSA. I'm forgetting the big or the medium sized show in Chicago that we go to. And then I participate on a number of panels and other things. We attend, 3 or 4 different investment banker conferences, which have a good bent towards fitness and active lifestyle. And there's some just consumer conferences as well that I will or somebody from my shop will attend. But we're at NBJ, we're at Natural Products Expo, we're at SFIA, Sports Fitness Industry Association, and so we're at a number of trade shows that meet this area. We try not to go to the ones that really are meant for professionals, and I think sometimes you want to not interfere with people that are there for specific professional development, and you're there trying to sell North Castle all the time is not necessarily welcome. But we do go to some smaller shows that some people don't go to. But we manage a whole calendar and try to send different people to different places. As you said, Nancy, we are far more broad than just fitness, right? It's an area of particular passion and focus for me. We are a North American focused investor, so we are not a big firm. We are a $420 million lower middle market fund. We know a lot of people, and our focus, I think, allows us to be unique in that area. But because of our size, we tend to be very North American focused. So we have invested in Canadian headquartered businesses before, but we have never invested in a business headquartered outside the United States or Canada. Having said that, of course, we do explore and support global business and global distribution. We've had many subsidiaries based in Europe and based in other parts of the world, but we typically invest in businesses headquartered here. Life is busy enough without, kind of trying to manage multiple languages, and from a legal standpoint, it's just not what we do.
Thanks, John. I'm going to ask JJ and Lou what it was like what the process was like from pitch to receiving investment and to working with John in North Castle in this case, but working with an investor, sort of the other side of the table for a minute while John takes a sip of water or something. So JJ, do you want to go first and tell us what that process was like a little bit?
Sure, happy to. I was not, just to be clear, I was not part of the process with North Castle upon their initial investment. I joined in 2018. North Castle invested in 2015, but we've done a couple of raises this past year that I was a part of, and then I can speak more generally. With regards to the process, of course, 2020 was unique, right? With regards to what we were running, with regards to kind of bridge capital to get us through the crisis. The fundamentals of what I shared initially remain true. The investors want to know what they're investing in, who the team is, and what you're trying to build. But layered on top of that in 2020 was, of course, concerns around your potential to survive, right? And that was a very true question that we needed to answer. We were still, when we were doing a capital raise, in a substantial cash burn position. So that layered on top made those raises a little bit more challenging, because the investor wants to know, what is your path to eliminating that burn, right? What is your path to cash flow positive? And what's the timing of that in light of the global crisis that you're facing? And so, that was a process that we worked through. I think for us as well, and this is where North Castle was an incredible partner, we are a values-driven company. And I think choosing a partner that has the same values and is a cultural fit is so critically important. And although we were raising minority capital that was taking sliver stake, we still knew that the board seat at the table had to share our values. And I think for anyone out there looking for value, this is the most critical question you need to answer. Does this investor share my values? Are they a cultural fit? I've sat on the investment side, and the deals that fall apart are simply when the answer to that at the beginning was a no. And you have different styles of investors, right? There are those that are very hands-on. There are those that are very hands-off. For us, it was about finding the right partner with the same style as North Castle. North Castle is a collaborator with us, right? John is accessible to me and Joey, our CEO, at all times to talk through challenges, problems, and is an incredible partner. There's others that just want to be capital and be more hands-off. And then also be clear on your expectations. So with our current investor, it's about setting realistic expectations on what we're going to achieve, especially in light of COVID. That's where things can very quickly fall apart as well, is when your investor has a different idea of what you're trying to build than the management team. And that disconnect creates friction and frankly can just create massive problems in the relationship. So for me, and especially in the most recent raises, it's just about making sure that they're a cultural fit. And keep in mind, they are investing in you, but you are also interviewing them, right? And so throughout our conversations, it's about understanding their style and their perspective to make sure they're the right fit.
Thank you so much, JJ. Lou?
Yeah, JJ, some great points. We just recently went through an additional investment round during COVID, and of course, we're pitching to 12 different investment groups through Zoom with 6 to 8 of our management team on the Zoom call. We're working through a presentation, and you're absolutely right. You're pitching to them, but at the same time, you're interviewing them as well. So you got to make sure you always give time where you can ask them the questions. Because they're going to ask you a lot of questions, but you need to ask them too. Make sure that they're on the same path as you are, and how they can help you. Because a lot of these investors, obviously, they have other investments they make, and possibly their other investments can help you. You can learn from them. What's nice about Jon, we have CEO meetings where we're all get on a Zoom call, or we're getting pre-pandemic, we'd get together. I was able to go to one of them before the pandemic, and we all got together and we learned from each other. We talked about a business, and there were some cooperations we did together. Recently, last weekend, I was in Miami, and one of our recent investors invited me to a cocktail hour he had, and he introduced me to 6 to 8 different groups that he's invested in, and now we're talking about doing things together. Plus other people came to the party that had great relations. He had great relationships with, and he introduced me to. So you're looking at that. When we first met Jon, the reason why we selected North Castle and was because we thought they had the relationships also in the industry that we didn't have. He also understood fitness. He understood great content, and we knew we had to make better content. So we looked for them for their expertise on that. They also, throughout the last few years, they've proved to us that they also have great knowledge of finances, of preparing a deck. As you're you're always going to have probably another investment. And they've really helped us grow and prepare our decks as our future investments. So, it's very important, as JJ said, and make sure that they're the right for you. You have a good relationship with them. Obviously, we went out to dinner a few times. We got to know each other on a personal level. And, we shared a lot of the same values. We don't always agree on everything, right, Jon? But we share a lot of our same values, not only values in business, values in being honorable and truthful, and but also family and everything else. So I think that's important. So sharing the same values is important.
Thank you so much. You have all mentioned values as tremendously important, the alignment of values with your investors and I'm guessing with partners ongoing. And there are some wonderful questions. We could probably go on for hours. I'm going to ask each of you in a moment about the trends you're seeing in the industry. Obviously, this past year, 2020, impacted everything and clearly impacted business and businesses that pivoted and were able to create digital platforms and expand that, manage to stay in business, grow their business, maybe even unearth a new business. Jon, from an investing standpoint, can you talk a little bit about the impact that's had? Are you still looking at in-person location-based businesses? Are you looking only digital? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's an incredibly confusing time. I mean, and by way of background, you're meeting, two of my businesses here, and you may think, oh, I've, 50% exposure to the home fitness market and 50% to the in-person market. Barry's represents one of four indoor fitness concepts, two other experiential retail service businesses that we have. A personal care retail services company in the waxing space is a seventh company, and so. Exposure to indoor services and all of the global shutdowns is something that dominated my last 14 months, offset by the wild growth ride that was happening and continues to happen at Echelon. And so I think about this question as much as anybody. And listen, there's no crystal ball. What I can say now is we are seeing a return to store that is far exceeding, I think, my expectations. And if you read some equity research, far exceeding their expectations. The best covered, of course, public company in the space is Planet. And there's some really good, research out there about the sort of percentage of attendance that they're seeing by region. Actually, one of the, I know this is all creepy, but a company that measures where people are by cell phone pings, and therefore has, I think, really accurate, unbiased, no BS data, is certainly reporting some really interesting return to store data. I think that the pandemic absolutely opened up people's eyes to the benefits and fun or quality of working out at home. That's not changing either, right? So now you're gonna say I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. I firmly believe people will work out more post-pandemic than they did before the pandemic. People invested in home fitness. I think they will continue to do so. I think we have a hybrid, work life going forward, many of us, and there are days where we will work out at home. There are days we will crave that in-store workout. As far as what we're looking for, I think being great at both is really, really hard. At Barry's, we really concentrated on what's the right level of investment to develop that omni-channel business. And we have something launching in August that we're really excited about, to take the Barry's home experience to a far greater level than it is today. Right now, we're still filming 14 months later in people's living rooms and delivering it on Zoom. People like it because our instructors are really good, but it's not an amazing experience. We have audio problems, we have internet problems. It's not. Having said that, we debated, should Barry's launch a treadmill, right? Should Barry's go into the connected fitness market on treadmill? You know what? Barry's isn't a tech company, right? So you have to know what you're good at. And so we've made careful and select investments. So I think people are looking at both. Absolutely. I think the investments in four-wall are mostly still recovery oriented, right? There's still, people are there, but they've had to spend a lot of capital. They have to rebuild their teams. They have to rehire. And so from North Castle perspective, we are eyes wide open to interesting new four-wall based fitness concepts, but really selective still, if I'm being totally candid with everybody. People are all looking for valuations that support their 2019 financials. Well, we're not there yet, right? And as much as I feel really good about the recovery, we're not all the way back yet. And I do think there's going to be winners and losers in that recovery game. As I said before, home fitness is here to stay. This is a category that will remain really hot, and we continue to be excited about it. And I'm encouraged because our retail partners continue to be excited about it, right? And they know what their shoppers want, right? Walmart and Costco, these are extremely sophisticated, buyers, retailers, and they know what their people want.
Yeah, so many important points that you made, and I'm so glad that this is recorded and that everybody can even listen to it again. And there's a lot of very interesting and lively conversations going on in the chat. I will remind you, the chat is also something that you're going to get afterwards, and that we will be sharing the email addresses of our guests today so people can reach out. With the 5 minutes that are left, I would like to ask each of you, just very, very quickly, what is your view of the future of wellness in the industry? What are you seeing in terms of opportunities? Just very, very quickly, maybe Lou, let's start with you this time. What are you seeing?
I'm seeing very, big interest. We have large, our customer base is using our platform more and more every single month. So I think the customer is going to continue doing at-home fitness, but as John said, they're going back to the gyms as well. There's going to be a mix on their workouts at home because they realize they can do some things at home now. They don't have to go to the gym to do their cardio. They can do their cardio at home, so they can mix it up. And they always need to challenge themselves, and we're constantly striving to challenge them as well.
And you have a membership model. Are you seeing increase in membership?
Yeah, we have a membership model, and of course we're seeing an increase in membership. We're got huge commitments from retailers coming in, for later this year and for next year already. So the retailers are doubling down. They see this as a business that's here to stay.
That's interesting. Okay, terrific. I was in Costco recently and saw the Echelon bites. JJ?
I think it's consistent with what John and Lou shared for Barry's, and I think more generally, it's the emergence of the multi-channel client. And for Barry's, what we saw during COVID was we were strictly before COVID an in-person experience. We launched our at-home product, and we had this emergence when we started to reopen studios of a multi-channel hybrid client that was taking our in-studio, but then also at home. And what was interesting is that we actually saw their frequency go up, right? And so there was this, all throughout the crisis, this threat of at-home fitness and whether or not it was going to cannibalize the in-studio. And what we actually experienced was an increase in frequency. So generally speaking, our clients take about 1.7 times a week. Coming with the emergence of the hybrid, those clients were averaging more like 2 times a week. And so there was an increase in frequency where we didn't actually see cannibalization of in-studio. Right now, we're seeing 50 to 70% of our average pre-COVID attendance. So people are coming back. And that's fantastic numbers given where we are in the recovery, right? And we're still under capacity restrictions and mask mandates in many of the regions that we operate. But for me, the trend for Barry's and more generally is the multi-channel customer. How do you remain connected to them? And how do you optimize that experience both in studio and at home?
And then beyond fitness, Nancy, there's still, tremendous tailwinds and growth in the overall healthy lifestyle for people, right? There's still, I think, an increasing knowledge and acceptance that, food is a better source of health than medicine. People are taking, their own health into their own hands and changing their diets. And, having said that, you have tons of, the obesity problem hasn't gotten any better. I'm sure some of you have read the weight loss and weight gain stats that came out of COVID. I think it's fascinating. You have a decent percentage of people that got healthier, right? They were not eating at restaurants. They had control of their food. They were working out at home because they had more time. And of course, on the other side of the spectrum, unfortunately, a large percentage of people gained weight. And so, there's an opportunity to target the different people with different products. But, the continued theme of healthy eating, healthy supplementation, healthy sports nutrition products will continue. And so, I think it's a exciting time coming out of this. It's going to be fascinating to watch people's habits. And I can't stress enough how much I personally believe a lot of that starts with understanding where work culture is going. People's habits stem from when they need to go where in their life. Right? If I'm home all day, I'm going to consume very differently than if I have to commute 40 miles to work, or if I live in a city, commute whatever blocks or subway ride to work or train ride to work, right? So that is still very much unfolding. Companies are announcing their plans. I think they're evolving, right? Some people are like, oh, we're all hybrid forever. And now they're like, 12 months later, or 14 months later, corporate culture has actually eroded. Like, we can't be that way. Other companies are really good at it and have managed to build their corporate cultures that way, right? So, John,
JJ, and Lou, thank you so much for this. It's 11 o'clock, and we always try to deliver on the promise so people can plan their schedules. We could go on. Clearly, we'll invite you back. This has really been fascinating, and you've been very transparent and appreciate it. And I know you will be hearing from people who on this call are probably developing all kinds of very interesting concepts, and would like to get them in front of you and to pick the considerable brains of JJ and Lou along the way. So thank you, thank you. We'll, if everybody unmutes themselves, we'll give you a little global love, and thank you so much for your time and all of your information. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.